I love giving a party for breakfast. But who wants to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and bake? Not me. What I learned when I ran Barefoot Contessa is I can make biscuits the night before and put them in the oven in the morning, and they're fantastic. So I'm gonna make cheddar buttermilk biscuits. The key to making good biscuits is really cold ingredients. Butter, eggs, milk. So I need 1½ sticks of butter. It's incredibly important to have really cold ingredients when you're making biscuits, because when the heat of the oven hits the biscuits, it hits the butter, and the steam causes them to puff up, so they're really light and flaky. Some people actually even also freeze the flour, but I think that's a little extreme. Okay, dry ingredients. 2 cups of flour. Just want to lighten the flour with your cup. It's really not necessary to sift it. All-purpose flour. That's 1, 2. And because I want really light and flaky biscuits, tablespoon of baking powder. Seems like a lot, but it's really worth it. 1½ teaspoons of salt, so they have lots of flavor. Okay, next for the butter. It's unsalted butter. Put it in with the flour and just mix it until it's about the size of peas. Okay, now buttermilk and egg. Buttermilk's actually great. It keeps baking really moist, and it's low fat too. It's pretty hard to argue when you just put 12 tablespoons of butter in something, but what the heck? So I need 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1 egg, and both of these are really cold, so it'll keep the butter cold. I'm just going to whisk them together. Okay, can't make cheddar buttermilk biscuits without good cheddar. I actually love like Vermont cheddar or English cheddar, something really sharp, which you really know it's cheddar. So I need about 1 cup. I'm just going to grate it on a big box grater. You can do this in a food processor, but I might get the food processor all dirty. I know Stephen loves cheddar biscuits, so I think it'll be perfect for him. So the goal is really light, flaky biscuits with lots of flavor. And the buttermilk is going to give it a little bit of a tangy flavor, and the cheddar's going to just give it so much flavor. Okay, that should be just about 1 cup of good cheddar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it with a little flour so it doesn't clump in the biscuits. Just a tablespoon or so. And then 1 cup of grated cheddar. And just mix it all together. Okay, so now I'm ready to put it all into the mixture. So you want the butter the size of peas in the flour, and it's perfect right now. So I'm just going to put it in the wet ingredients. So cold buttermilk and cold egg. Just pour it in pretty quickly. And the cheddar mixed with a little bit of flour. Okay, that's it. It's really fast. I'm gonna clear the decks, roll it out. So, flour for the deck. Make sure they don't stick. And the dough, just dump it right out. Just gonna give it a quick knead, not so much that you melt the butter in the dough. Use lots of flour so that they don't stick to the deck. No point in making biscuits if you can't get them off the countertop. Okay, just keep flouring it, making sure it moves around on the deck. So I'm gonna do a rectangle, maybe about 10 inches by 5 inches, and I'll get 8 buttermilk biscuits out of it. So about 3/4 of an inch thick, somewhere between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch thick. Do it in a nice rectangle like that. Okay, big knife. And sometimes you even flour the knife to make sure they don't stick. Cut it right down the middle. This is the part where I couldn't find the cutter, and I thought, well, I'm just going to cut them up. And they came out really rough and very homemade looking. I love them, just like that. Okay. Onto a sheet pan. My friend Steven's really busy, and he loves to entertain. And tomorrow I'm going to show him how easy it is to give a breakfast party. So these are going to go into the refrigerator. And then tomorrow, I'm going to brush them with egg wash and sprinkle them with cheddar, and they're going to be so good when they come out of the oven. going to show Stephen that even somebody as busy as he is can make a breakfast party. Are you busy making cheddar cheese?
I am so busy.
I made your favorite Buttermilk Cheddar Biscuits. You're gonna really like them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna glaze them, put a little egg wash on.
Okay.
How's that?
Tell me about an
An
egg wash.
Egg wash is just an egg and a little bit of water or milk. Just whip it up. And what it does is, it gives a nice brown glaze to the biscuits. You know, like your mother used to make? Did your mother used to make biscuits?
My mother did not make biscuits.
So I'm just gonna brush these with the egg wash. And you're gonna put cheddar cheese on the top.
You ready for a little sprinkling?
Go for it.
Okay. Can there be too much here?
Never too much cheddar. Can I help you?
Yeah.
Okay, right on top.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, that might be too much cheddar. And how about a sprinkling of salt? Just gives a really nice flavor to it and looks great when it's baked. Okay, into the oven, 425 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes until they're puffed and browned and just delicious. And then we're gonna make a breakfast cocktail.
A breakfast buzz. I love it.
Okay, this needs to be shaken for like 30 seconds.
I think
You're
I
on
can
while I
handle
get the
that.
biscuits out of the oven.
Okay. I've always wanted to do the bartender thing. Those are looking good.
Aren't they great? They smell great. The next thing I'm making is cacio e pepe cheese puffs. Cacio e pepe means cheese and pepper. And it starts with a pâte à choux dough. I'm going to show you how to make it. It's really easy. 1 cup of milk, and heat it up with 1/4 pound of butter. And just bring that to a simmer. This is actually the same dough that makes éclairs, makes profiteroles, and all kinds of cheese puffs. So just heat this until the butter melts, and then bring it to a simmer. You don't want the milk to boil. It's simmering now. You can just see the bubbles around the edge. So I need salt and pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and now 1 cup of flour. Okay, level it off. Okay, and then I'm just gonna dump it in. Stir it really vigorously for 2 minutes on low heat, and you'll see it all come together. Okay, that's about 2 minutes. When you see a light coating of flour on the bottom of the pan, you know the dough is ready. Okay, now off the heat, and now I'm gonna dump it into a food processor. Just pour the whole thing in. Watch how cool this is. I'm gonna add 4 eggs and lots of cheese. 1/2 cup of pecorino and 1/2 cup of Parmesan. They have slightly different flavors, and I like them together. Put the lid on and just process it just until it all comes together. It's gonna be really thick. And that's the dough. I mean, that's pretty easy. So now I just have to fill a pastry bag. I've got a really big one. It's 18 inches, and I've put a plain round tip in it. The tip is about 5/8 inches across. Just squeeze the dough down to the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna show you how I do it. Just put your pastry bag down like this and have them come out, just like that. You can do about 20 on each sheet pan. So now, I don't want pointy little cheese puffs, I want rounded ones. So I'm just gonna take a wet finger and just press down the top of each one. Okay, now I'm gonna brush them with a little bit of egg wash. Okay, a few more things. I'm gonna put a sprinkling of pecorino on the top of each one. Just make sure it has great cheese flavor. And then, because you want them to be really spicy, sprinkle them with salt and pepper. Okay, ready to go into the oven. 425 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes until they're puffed and golden brown on the outside and still soft inside. You're not gonna believe what they look like when they come out. How fabulous do those look? They smell so cheesy and peppery. Okay, now I'm just gonna put them on a platter. A little fleur de sel to finish. Everything tastes better with more salt. And see, cacio e pepe cheese puffs, they're not so daunting after all. Now I just need a good glass of Italian wine to go with it. My late friend Anna Pump used to make these incredible tomato tarts at her specialty food store, Loaves and Fishes. I always thought it looked so daunting to make, but I got up my courage, I asked her for the recipe, and I made it. And you know what? It wasn't scary at all. So I'm gonna show you how to make it. First, I'm gonna make the crust. So I'm gonna start with 2½ cups of flour. It's just all-purpose flour. And when you're measuring flour, just lighten it. And then dip your cup in like that, and just level it off, right into a food processor. It's actually Anna who taught me to make pastry in a food processor, too. I miss her. That's 2½. Okay, 2½ cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna mix those together with 1 pulse to make sure they're well mixed. I have 12 tablespoons of very cold diced butter. It's about 3/4 inch dice. I'm just gonna pulse it. You want the butter the size of peas in the flour. Just wanna make sure that butter isn't completely incorporated because the water in the butter, when it hits the heat in the oven, is what expands and makes flaky pastry. Okay, the next thing is 2 egg yolks. Go right in. Just gonna pulse them. This is unique to Anna's crust. Okay, next thing is ice water, and it's gotta be really cold. I just took some ice out. Ice water is really important because it keeps the butter very cold. Slowly mix it in, and you'll see it will start to form a dough. Just until it's almost completely combined. A little flour. Okay, I'm just gonna dump this out on the board. Somebody once commented about Stephen Sondheim's music, which I adore, that it wasn't hummable. And he said, well, you know, the only difference between a hummable song and a not hummable song is just singing it 3 times. Well, I kind of feel that way about scary dishes. The only difference between making a tomato tart and not making it is just do it once or twice on your own when it's quiet and nobody's watching, and you'll be an expert. Okay, now I'm just gonna wrap it up with plastic wrap. I'm gonna refrigerate it for 30 minutes, just to make sure the butter is really cold before I roll it out. And then I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna get from this dough to this gorgeous crust, and you won't believe how easy it is. I took the chilled dough out of the fridge and put it on a floured surface, then started rolling from the center to the edges with a floured rolling pin. I trimmed the sides. Then I used the rolling pin to transfer the pastry to a sheet pan without stretching it. Now here's a trick for blind baking. Instead of all the beans, I just put another sheet pan on top. You have to make sure the second sheet pan isn't bent or the pastry won't stay flat. Then I put it in a 400-degree oven. After 15 minutes, I took the top sheet pan off, pierced the pastry with a fork to stop it from puffing up, and I put it back in for another 10 minutes until it was lightly browned. Then took it out to cool. Now that the crust is completely cooled, I'll show you how I assemble it. So I want it to have lots of flavor. I'm gonna start with 6 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. I know it sounds like a lot, but it really makes a difference. So just spread it out with a brush. And the next thing is 3/4 of a pound of Gruyere cheese, which is a lot. In order to get 3/4 of a pound of Gruyere, what you want is a 1-pound block of Gruyere. After you cut off the rind, it'll be 3/4 of a pound. You can grate it by hand, but it's so much faster than the food processor. I use a carrot grating disc. I'm gonna hold back about 1/2 cup so I can put it on top of the tart. I'm gonna put 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan on too. So now the combination of the Gruyere and the Parmesan is really fantastic. I know it looks like a cheese tart so far, but it's gonna be a tomato tart, I promise. And these are the tomatoes. Let me show you how I made them. I put a cup of parsley in the food processor with 1/2 cup of coarsely chopped fresh basil leaves, 3 large garlic cloves, and a tablespoon of fresh thyme leaves, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and a teaspoon of pepper. Processed them, and then with the motor running, poured 1/2 cup of olive oil through the feed tube and processed it until it was combined. Then just pour the mixture over 2.5 pounds of cored and sliced red tomatoes. And toss everything together gently to coat the tomatoes. I've got the base, I've got the cheese already, but one of the things that makes all the difference is how you arrange the tomatoes. I could just do them casually, but I think what makes it really professional is lining them up in perfect rows. I'll show you how I do it. I'm gonna drizzle on a little bit of herbed olive oil. One of the important things about this is you can use red tomatoes, you can use heirloom tomatoes, but it's really important that they're all the same size. Okay, that's the herb oil, a little of the Gruyere that I saved right on top. It's gonna melt into the tomatoes. A little bit of Parmesan cheese, give it a little spice. And this is gonna go into the oven, 375 degrees for 30 minutes, and this is gonna be one glorious tomato tart. This is just gorgeous. Sometimes I just cut it right in the pan, serve it in the pan, very casual. But if you want it to look a little more professional, I transfer it to a board and cut it right on the board. So I'm just gonna cut it right across. You need a big knife for this. I think 3 pieces across. This is great with the salad. Really nice summer lunch. It's always funny to me when somebody wants to compliment something you made at home, they say, that looks really professional. But if you want to compliment something somebody bought at a bakery, they say, that tastes so homemade. It's such a contradiction. So around here we say, homemade by professionals. These are really big squares, but it's lunch. And I can't wait till it's served. So I'm gonna start with puff pastry. You want it really cold. So each package has 2 sheets. I'm just gonna roll it out. A little flour, just so when I roll it out, it doesn't stick. I'm just gonna roll it out ever so slightly until it's about 10 by 12 inches, just so it's a little thinner than it is when it comes out of the package. That's 10, perfect, 10 by 12. Put this on a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. And I'm gonna brush it with 2 tablespoons of mustard, good Dijon mustard. I'm just gonna leave a 1-inch border around the edge, so when I egg wash it, the 2 layers puff pastry on top is gonna stick together. Okay, next to the ham. So I've got about 1/4 pound of sliced Black Forest ham. You can use whatever ham you like. I'm just gonna layer it on. Probably won't even use the whole 1/4 pound. Just layer it on like that. Again, leaving it a 1-inch border so the puff pastry slices will stick together. We're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for delicious. Okay, next, cheese. Just put them right on. It doesn't really matter because it's all gonna melt. It doesn't matter what size the slices are. It's right on top. I love good Gruyere. I think it's just got great flavor, really nutty. Perfect, okay. Now, clear the decks. 1 more sheet of puff pastry. Okay, so that should be about 10 by 12. Now I need egg wash. 1 egg, a little bit of water. I've actually tried egg wash with lots of different things, with water, with milk, with heavy cream. Doesn't really make any difference, whatever you have. Okay, brush. I'm just gonna use this to brush the edges. So when I put the second piece of puff pastry on top, it'll seal it. Okay, just lay this right on top. If the 2 layers don't fit exactly, don't stretch it, but you can certainly cut it a little bit. If you stretch pastry, it just ends up shrinking back to the original size. Perfect. A little bit of an edge with a fork, just to hold it all together. Okay, a little egg wash on the top. I love this. And then I'm just gonna have little slits in the top just to let the steam get out. So maybe just 3 little slits. So it'll puff up, but if there's any steam, it'll allow it to escape. Okay, into the oven, 425 degrees for about 30 minutes. It's gonna be puffed and golden and delicious with melted cheese and ham in it. How bad is that? So that's the ham and cheese and puff pastry. Little squares, everybody helps themselves, right on the board. I'm making sun-dried tomato palmiers. Now, I've always made sweet palmiers, which are those elephant ears with sugar, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to make savory ones? So the first thing is 1 1/4 cups of sun-dried tomatoes. I'm just gonna chop them up because they're gonna end up being ground up in the food processor. So I've got 1 1/4 cups of sun-dried tomatoes. It's really like making pesto. I'm gonna make it with basil, Parmesan cheese, garlic. Oh, I think about 9 cloves of garlic. I want about 3 tablespoons of minced garlic. You don't have to chop it so fine because the food processor is going to do all the work. Just put that in. Already smell the garlic. And then I'm just going to grind it up. Okay, next thing is basil, lots of it. These are great flavors together, basil and garlic and sun-dried tomatoes. I want about 5 cups of basil leaves. Just going to roughly take these off. Love the way it smells. Okay, right into the food processor. Okay, then a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper. Really is just like making pesto. And then grind it all up. And now I'm going to slowly add 3/4 of a cup of olive oil. And a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Oh, it smells great. Tomato and basil and garlic. I wonder if it'd be good over pasta. Puff pastry is this great little secret. It's available in the freezer of every grocery store in America, and if you've ever made it yourself, you never want to do it. So I've got 1 sheet that I've defrosted in the refrigerator. This is still cold, but if it gets warm and it's hard to work with, just chill it for about 5 minutes. Just lightly roll it, not too much. So I'm going to take some of the sun-dried tomato pesto and just put it right on top. It smells good. I can smell the garlic and the tomato and just spread it out. I suppose you could probably make savory puff pastry palmiers with all different kinds of things, just plain pesto or Gruyere and Parmesan. So just roll this right to the edge. I want every palmier to have the sun-dried tomato pesto on it. So it's really smooth. Okay. And then I'll show you how to roll it up. So you're going to do it like, just follow this. So about halfway in, just like that, on both sides. And then halfway in again, so it meets right at the middle. So what happens is those layers of butter, when the heat from the oven hits the layers of butter, the water evaporates and it causes the pastry to really puff up. And that's why it's called puff pastry. And then you just fold it over just like that. Okay, that's a nice little package. So just slice about 3/8 inch slices. It's like between 1/4 and 1/2. Well, they don't look like much now, but I think they're gonna taste great. Okay, quick egg wash, which is an egg beaten with a tablespoon of water, just so they get nice and brown. These are gonna bake at a really hot temperature, about 400 degrees, for about 10 or 11 minutes. I'm gonna flip them halfway through so they get nice and brown and crisp on both sides. These are gonna be really good. How gorgeous is that?